The Rock Metal Podcast, episode 187 with The Survival Code.
Life is not fair. It's up to you to take
Rock
a
Metal Nation, what is up? This is John from the Rock Metal Podcast. That sample you just heard was Crawl by The Survival Code, who I've got on the show with me right now. They've got a new album called The Hopelessness of People, set to release later this month on August 31st. Right now I'm being joined by Gary McGinnis to share some stories about the music and share more info about the band. So Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, John. How are you, sir?
I am doing very well, enjoying what seems to be the last little bit of summer here. How about you?
Oh, the same as. We have an extraordinary summer over in the UK, so I'm kind of enjoying that to the max at the moment.
Beautiful. All right, let's go listen back to that track, Crawl. I come back from Crawl, which is the current single, definitely an attention-grabbing intro, and something else I really dig about it that we can chat about is it seems like the arrangement is designed to make that verse just super clear. Like there is absolutely no question about what you're saying, or singing rather, in that verse.
Yeah, like it's one of those songs on the album that we just gravitated towards increasingly as we played it. Because the intro, as you say, it's quite impactful, but there's a clarity in the verse, and we're not trying to overcomplicate it. I suppose back in the day when we started out, we were very guilty of maybe overdoing things, too much drums, too much guitar, and too much vocals all at the same time. So I suppose we're trying to be smarter with how we use things, and less sometimes is more. So we figured that leave a lot of space to be clear in the verse, and then build into a nice little bridge to add just a perfect setup for the chorus, which is kind of catchy hook, and then back to a similar to the verse again. Yeah, so we like the different textures in each of the sections. So we're trying to go for that anyway.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point that basically nothing beats a great arrangement to make the song even better.
Absolutely. It's always the challenge. At the end of the day, I suppose most bands I've been in, and maybe other musicians will relate, or other people will know, or relate at least to a degree, it's like whoever writes the song regardless, the arrangement's kind of key. So as a band normally, and the bands I've been a part of, even if somebody isn't very proficient at maybe writing parts, it's all about the arrangement as a group, or however big the group is. So absolutely, you're always trying to dial things slightly to the left or right, or move the sections around, trying to get that perfect, like make the song as it should be, without sounding silly.
Yeah, no, totally. Now, I'm curious, with the track called Crawl, and there's a line in there about 1 step forward, 100 steps back. What in the world is this song about?
I don't know. Obviously it's a massive exaggeration, but I suppose it's a good synopsis of the album in itself, which obviously you mentioned was called Hopelessness of People. We're not too depressed over here in that sense, but we've been. It's a mad sector, the industry. The music sector. Probably a lot better than I or we. And a lot of people say a lot of things that they just can't do, and it's mad how many people we've met that have let us down, and thankfully we still have the wherewithal and the will to kind of go on. We love what we do, but as a result, things like that, Crawl it's true. When it works, it's the best. It's as good as it gets. So when it's still worth all the madness, but a lot of the time it is 1 step forward, 100 steps back.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm curious,
that's how it feels.
What about the track made it the single for you guys?
Good question. I suppose we released 2 singles initially. So this is the third off the album, and the first 2 were, I suppose, a little more radio friendly in the sense that there wasn't as heavy a groove at any point in the song, and there was a good hook in the chorus. So we thought to be intelligent enough with the first 2 offerings. But one thing about us is that we're actually a really energetic live band. The fact that there's just 2 of us, means there's a lot going on all the time. So somewhere between what we are live and those 2 singles, and I like the videos and everything to do with it, but we felt maybe we weren't communicating 100% of who we are. So the at least Crawl gives a bit more of our edgy side too. So maybe you'll get a fairer idea with the 3 rather than just the first 2 we figured.
Beautiful. Now, for Rock Metal Nation who dug the track Crawl, if you go to today's show notes, that's www.therockmetalpodcast.ca. You can go and see the official video for Crawl. Now, Gary, why don't you take us through the production of the music video? Yeah,
it was great, actually. It's a random story. Normally, we've been lucky in the past to have done some nice high-budget, high-end videos, which were great working with big teams. But this release, we thought the most important thing was to be in people's ears and in front of people's faces, really. And so what we thought to do was invest heavily in PR and marketing with the album, and instead bring the videos in-house. So what we did was, rather randomly, I shot the videos with a friend and I edited them. And we went to there's an old newspaper in a part of England called the Coventry Evening Telegraph. They had a big famous old building, and we rented it. We got a nice rate back in last November, and they told us that you have for 24 hours. So we decided, okay, we'll shoot 4 videos. So we shot 4 videos in one day. No one was very happy with it by the end in terms of how hard the day was, but it was great. And that's where Crawl was born. In terms of we wanted it to be intense. We wanted flashing lights, and we found ways with the projector to create the flashing lights. And we felt, like you said at the start of our chat, it's so clear what's being said, but it is about the words very much, this song, more than others that we've written before. So yeah, we wanted to make it a performance, a lyric video, just to kind of less about the narrative, like I was saying as well, trying to show a different side of us. So yeah, it was an intense day. So the intensity's in the video because there were 4 shot that day. And I'm really quite happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. Let's go listen to the next track, Same Skin.
Let's go back to basics. Not too complicated. Exchanging graces. Getting disconnected. Traffic lights. Change but stay the same. Just as the night brings back darkness again, can't escape what happened. Still in the same skin. Let's try and find the traces, remnants of who we were. Tear up the facade to see the truth revealed. Still the same fight. People haven't really changed. Led to believe this new world we live in can't escape what happened. Still in the same skin. Can't escape what happened. Still in the same skin.
Rock Metal Nation, it's John from the Rock Metal Podcast for a real quick break to let you know that Jay over at Metal Mayhem Radio is looking to help you get your band in rotation on his station. So go ahead and hit up Jay at studio@metalmayhemradio.co.uk. That is studio@metalmayhemradio.co.uk. Just go ahead and say that the Rock Metal Podcast sent you. He'll get you into rotation on Metal Mayhem Radio. All right, coming back from Same Skin. Now, I love the bass line with the vocal, and it just kicks right into that verse. And I think the other thing that I really like about it as well is it increases in intensity almost subconsciously, kind of like a frog in a pot of water. I'm like, hey, this is getting cool. And then it just explodes into the chorus.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm glad it comes across like that. It's one of those songs as well. Like, it's not a very high tempo song. So even playing it live, I have to teach myself to chill with it. You know, don't rush it, because part of its success is its delivery. And like you say, just be confident with it and sell it properly in terms of articulate and play clearly. Because one thing that's definitely lends itself to is kind of speeding up, and then it kind of loses its it's oomph for us as well, to be honest. But yeah, we love it. We like the dynamic, and especially as it leads up to the chorus or the outro, it feels like it's building up the whole way through for us. So I'm delighted it comes across like that.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I'm curious, similar question, what's the story or inspiration behind Same Skin?
Oh, fair question. Like, I suppose that the truth of it is, at the end, it's a human story of, like, a mistake or something that you wish could be different, but no matter how hard you try, it's still you, or it's still the same. It happened the way it did. So there is hope in it, like, in the sense of the last words are trying to change, because I think we're all capable of change. Just it depends on, give or take, the circumstance or how something matters. So yeah, no, it's a hopeful song, actually. While at the same time, it's definitely about a tragedy of sorts, without being too negative.
Yeah, without being too terribly negative about the hopelessness of people.
I know, but that's the thing about it, Contrast is important too, and if you listen to me go on, you may think, this is going to be like the death march or something, or a death knell. But no, like, it's the contrast is key. The energetic music with the melodies contrast with the pictures. So if it's all negative, it's no good for us either. It needs to be a balance, which is why Hopelessness of People makes sense for us. And the cover of our album has like 7 bright colors. It is all about contrasts and trying to conflict emotion with imagery, and yeah, it works for us. We love it, and we just hope other people get into it too.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the album that we've kind of mentioned a few times here for Rock Metal Nation, who is excited about Crawl, they're excited about Same Skin, definitely excited to hear that there are more tracks that are coming out on August 31st on a full album called The Hopelessness of People. Gary, why don't you go ahead and take us through the album? When we pick it up, what should we expect?
I think you'll expect just really straightforward rock songs with really catchy choruses from a bunch of lads that are really serious about what they're doing. Like I said to you before, every song should impact us, or impact you, or impact the listener to a degree. We feel there's 7 or 8 singles on it, so we're definitely going for a rock crowd. We definitely need people who listen to Foo Fighters, Royal Blood, Coheed and Cambria, all the rock bands that are out there, Deftones, even old school new metal. We have metal is our influence as well, like Lamb of God, Slipknot, growing up with bands like that, and Slayer. So it's all in there. It's just that we're trying to tailor it to a modern audience. Rock is, as we all know, isn't unfortunately on the main playlist at the right times of day on every radio station anymore. It just isn't happening. So we're trying to find the compromise between being a rock band and getting on the radio and getting heard by the masses. So we feel we've hit the perfect chord with this album. There's 2 singles out already, and you've played 2 songs tonight. One was our last single, and we're delighted, and thank you so much for helping spread the word.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. 2 things I was going to do, but you were speaking so beautifully, I was going to scream Slayer, because that's what you do. It's just Slayer! That's just what you do. I
do miss saying that.
There was a comedian I saw once did a bit about metal. He's like, no matter what metal show you're at, even if Slayer is not even anywhere near the building, you just yell Slayer. That's what you do.
It's like being back in school again. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So I actually tried.
Nice.
I tried it once at a metal show that I was at just to test it, and it worked. People just started screaming Slayer, and they weren't even playing. I was like, this is ridiculous.
This works every time.
Exactly. And the other thing you mentioned was, how do you battle being a rock band and being on the radio? And the first thing I thought of being Canadian was Nickelback.
The fairest. Absolutely. And they hit the line perfectly. Like, and obviously Chad back in the day, when even the spin-off single for Superman, Spider-Man, excuse me, they were so on it, and they just had it perfectly back in the day. So yeah, there still is opportunity. Clearly, bands are slowly breaking through. Like over here, that I've mentioned them a few times. Almost like I'm in Royal Blood myself, but that duo from the UK, it's nice to see a band break through with the strings and the guitars and drums. It just doesn't happen that much anymore. So yeah, anyone that's doing it, we'll support them. And we're all a small community these days. Mm-hmm. So keep trying to push it, get it back in the mainstream if it's possible.
Exactamundo, sir. Now, for the next logical question on Rock Metal Nation's mind is, how can we find out more about you? Is there a website that we should go to?
There is. The Survival Code, all one word, .co.uk is our website. And I don't want to be too sweeping in the statement, but I think any social media or any streaming site or video site you typed our name into, The Survival Code, you'll find us. We're pretty much everywhere in that sense. for better or worse, we're everywhere.
Groovy. All right. Well, Gary, unless there's anything else you wanted to throw out there, I just wanted to thank you for taking time out of your day to come onto the Rock Metal Podcast and sharing the survival code with Rock Metal Nation.
It's been an absolute pleasure, John. Thank you for having me on. And rock out, guys. Thank you.
Let's go back to basics. And to the complicated. Exchanging graces. Getting disconnected.
All right, Rock Metal Nation. Hopefully you just found your new favorite band in the survival code. Big thanks again to them for coming on and sharing their music with us. Make sure to head over to www.therockmetalpodcast.ca to get all the information on the show you just heard today. And until then, rock on, Rock Metal Nation.